Okay, here we go again. So this one, I had to read one of the emails that came in, so I have to read it, the gist of it that came in for you. And I'm going to read your answer to her, and then we'll talk about the points. How's that? Okay, so the email, the meat of the question was, under what circumstances, if any, should a person forgive infidelity? Okay, so in the context, say, of a relationship or a marriage, especially, right? Somebody cheats, and what are the terms? Like, under what circumstances should I forgive? Under what circumstances? Because that's kind of like a very specific, right? And so as you thought about these, is the person likely to cheat again? Was one question that you asked her first. Is the person likely to do this again? Meaning him. Is he going to do this again? Number two, are you, or you have to ask yourself, am I going to hold resentment against him for the rest of our marriage?
Not forgive.
Okay. And the last one is having some kind of open marriage totally not up for discussion? And then you said, if you answered yes to any one of these, break the marriage off. It's not going to work. So let's explain why you said that, because it's really interesting. I want to give my point of view first, because you asked me to be here. So I want to give my point of view first, and then you can piggyback on it, because you have your own answer. I know your answer. It's very close to my answer, so it's not like I'm not being original. So, the first one is the person likely to do it again. So, okay, great question. Like, we both have. I've counseled men who have, their wives cheated on them, and they were shocked. And sometimes it was with their best friend, and it made it like doubly hard, whatever, or with a certain type of guy, or an old fling. I mean, these are the touchy chords, of this happening to a man. And so then it's like, okay, this woman, right, she's asking a question, or the man is asking the question, in this case, do I go back? Is she going to do it again? And if it's not like a very confident, I got this, I messed up, this is so out of character, I went to a high school reunion, I got drunk, and I was with the wrong people at the wrong time. I'm not this person. I messed up, right? And their marriage it's pretty good. It's not terrible, okay? If you can't forgive that person, if you're going to shame that person for the rest of your life, meaning in this case, the guy doing this to the woman, you can't forgive her, you're going to shame her, and you're not open at all to saying, okay, well, is this something you want to do again? How about, I do that one for one. You owe me one. How are you going to feel about that, right? So you're saying if you're not open to any of those, get rid of it. So the first one, if you can't forgive the person, right? It's like that's essentially what's happening here, Or the first one, I'm sorry. The first one is if the person's likely to do it again, they're just going to say, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it again. Or they lie and you catch them doing it again, which is more common. And they're really, really like, oh, I got converted. And then you catch them doing it again. And then they have another excuse. How many times are you going to sit around and watch that person just continue to be unfaithful to you? Okay, so if you are not going to break it off while that's happening, then you're an idiot. Right? You're an idiot. That's like a no-brainer. The second one, are you going to hold resentment? Meaning like, and we've seen that, we've seen, I often use this as an example with clients, guy clients. I don't know how much you use it, but I use it as an example because it was I don't want to say it was my call or my fault even. But as a young pastor, a guy, was attending our church, and I met with him, and he said, before I started coming into the faith, I had an affair with my wife, and now we're like both in the faith. And we know what it's like to receive God's grace and God's forgiveness and God's love and blah blah blah. And he goes, and I think he actually did note that scripture in the James's book that says it talks about confess your sins to one another so that you're healed. And I'm like, okay, you're coming at me that way. You're coming at me like in the way where this is for you too, right? And you want to make right because you think that there's forgiveness and love now. So me being a pastor, I'm like, that's a good scripture. Like, I concur with that. I didn't say that, but I was like, I basically was at the end. It was like, it's your decision. It wasn't that easy. I gave certain scenarios, and I was like, it's your decision. He made the decision to tell his wife. His wife never really totally, I guess I can say, biblically forgave him.
It was probably a good 20-something years.
Yeah. And there was resentment from that point on, and it destroyed their marriage. Now, sometimes I go back in my head and I look at the things that I did, in my vocation or whatever I was doing then. And I say to myself, if I had to replay that scene, would I say the same thing? Of course, okay, so the pastor has to be, what? I have to intervene. I have to go blow the whistle. I'm not the whistleblower. I'm the opposite. I can't tell your spouse you did this. But if you want to, you should. And then you can come in and we can all talk about it. But and I've had the opposite happen where they come in and they talk about it, and it blows up for the first time in front of me, and that's like, forget about it, you got to do 15 things at once. But in this case, no, it wasn't. So I look back at that and I was like, maybe I should have kind of been biased towards, why don't you just wait? Maybe it's too soon. Maybe it's, stall him out, give him a tranquilizer, maybe he'll change his mind. Because it didn't go in his favor. They may still be married right now.
If she didn't know.
Had he not told her.
We're going to address. She was never a sexual sister. No. She never wanted to be. There was never a choice to be. I tried.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Right.
And her heart just could not roll over. Whether she was called, chosen, whatever, we're all called, if you were chosen, whatever. Was she called to be one, chosen to be one?
Did we get to the third one? Having an open relationship? Did we get to that one? We didn't get to that
one. No.
That's the hot topic.
That's a hot topic.
Yeah, because if you're absolutely positively know about having a discussion, I think we mentioned it.
But you have to have unity, and so
it can't be like a wreck, a train wreck.
Right. So if one of the answers is, okay, well, how would you like to have an open relationship where, the husband and the wife, they both, are allowed to have hall passes, they call them,
or dates with other people.
Or dates with other people, those kind of things, because that's a desire, and that brings jealous fires or fires into their own bedroom, their own bed chambers.
Well, when you say jealous fires, you have to say that they are not jealousy.
They're not. Right, they're not jealousy. No. It's it brings. Give me a couple adjectives. It other than jealous. It gives hot, vibes. Into the relationship. It sparks their sparks their bedroom.
I think a good phrase is that it gives you a glimpse of someone else having what you had.
Right.
and
Someone
that
else
person
desiring.
having an amazing experience with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, that makes me jealous.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it turns and you say, but he or she is mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then you have that kind of, if you can have an open relationship that works that way, right? For whatever reason, you're too old, you just really don't want to start all over again. You have so much invested in assets or whatever, family, whatever. It could be a lot of things. You know, I don't want to build that all over again. Or marriage, you have kids.
A lot of marriages. You will see, you will walk by people every day. If you walk out your house, you will walk by people every day who have that kind of relationship. And you would never know it. They're filled, people are like that, filled in the church.
Oh my gosh.
They're going places and doing things that you have no idea.
I thought it was bad up north. Woo.
They're sitting in pews
this is like
in
the
church.
Capital.
But outside their lives, they have a lot of open relationships, and they're called swingers. So
unfortunately, there's a lot of them, that are underground.
Oh yeah, they're all because
they're so underground. They're doing the selfie and the crosses behind them, and they're at the church on Sunday, and then they're making social media platform phone calls 4:00 in the morning to a woman, and theyey're married.
Right.
And so
we've come across.
Who are you? You're 50-something,
these people.
But I'm confused.
We've come across these people.
I had to say that.
Yeah, but we've come across these people, and sometimes you're so angry. Oh my God. So
no, I'm just animated because it's like I hate hypocrisy. Like
I know you do. I know you hate hypocrisy. I know.
Drives me crazy because we're all screwed up. So let's just join the all screwed up.
Because
don't give me the you're this and you're not this.
Can I just tell you something? Nobody wants to confess their stuff. They're not going to. No matter how much we see
I'm all right with that. But don't play two totally different polar opposites.
No, they will. It's going to continue.
Yeah, well, no.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No, there is. When I was a pastor, I threw those people out. I got them out of the building. They were hurtful. I got those people out of the building. That doesn't mean I'm the Pope and I excommunicated them. I threw them away from the church. They can't come back. No, it's just like, you're not coming here.
But I will tell you that I think that if we had a church today, it would be everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter what you do and who you are and what you do on the weekends.
I agree. But just don't make believe that you're St. Francis. Don't do that to me. I can't deal with that piece.
At the same time, they don't have to tell us or tell anybody.
I don't want anybody to tell me nothing. Don't let me hear about it.
Just don't say it. Just don't lie about it. Right. Just don't lie about it. That's all.
Period. It's two different things.
Whatever. But I'm just saying, my point is that it's a very common, very, very common.
Open relationships.
Open relationships are very, very common.
Non-monogamous.
And it's in other religions.
Oh yeah, big time. Polygamy is a big thing, which is kind of like
it's in the Old Testament.
Yeah, no, and obviously it's in the Ten Commandments. So, in talking to people about this subject and having some of them come across us as clients and having to have these discussions with them, they would just say, like, an example. I guess I could give an example to be safe, like say, because I know that I've known people that would define adultery this way. That could be in polygamy and be quote unquote Christians, polygamous, or have an open marriage and have the same definition. That so you look at Abraham and Sarah, right? So one of the things they would say is, Abraham he precedes the law. Okay, got it. Understand
Precedes.
He came before the law.
Before the New Testament, before Jesus.
No, before the law, where thou shalt not have or covet your neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Oh,
That
okay.
whole thing. So
Before the 10 Commandments.
Yes. So, having said that, like, okay, he comes up on the scene and he tells 2 kings to have sex with his wife for money, for safety, or whatever.
Wife.
Now, do we have solid evidence, that they did not have sex? One of the places it leans that way. The other places I'm not so certain that you can be dogmatic that it leans one way or another. Okay, in my study anyway. But this is not my opinion. I'm basically telling you what the opinion of some people that are in open marriages would say. They would say that if 2 parties are agreeable that are married, and everything is in the light, and they know who and when and where and how many and when you're coming back and everything like that, they understand that. Okay, then it's not adultery.
Right.
Because adultery is cheating. Adultery is breaking a covenant, right? And it's the covenant that you made as a marriage. But if you want to amend the covenant, okay, I'm just saying this is what they believe. They want to amend the covenant and say, the Bible doesn't really speak to consensual agreement in the Old Testament or New Testament. It doesn't speak of it. So it's always, the other way. Now it speaks of immorality. If you want to have that presupposition that that's immoral, then that's your opinion. But some people don't. I'm just telling you that I'm making that fact known because people are quick to, pull a fundamental Bible out, but they're lusting after their friggin' secretary every morning. They're flirting with her. They're this. These are my triggers. I can't leave them off the set. No, you're married to them. Okay, it is what it is. You asked me to come. You get the triggers. But so that they would say that they would definitely say that. Well, we have full agreement. We've given each other consent. Sometimes people want to be there and be part of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's how transparent they want.
Yeah.
Like same room, same bed.
Yeah.
Boom. Other people are like, just go. Other people will be like, okay, different rooms, same house, same hotel across, whatever.
But
it's
all
like
for the
every
ultimate,
so different.
But all for the ultimate to enhance their own personal marriage and relationship.
First of all, not to enhance it. First of all, it's like don't want to lose the assets. It's complicated, especially if you're not legally married. It becomes more complicated. It's like, well, wait a minute. Half the car is mine. It's like half this is mine. The dogs, the pets, the house, whatever. Right? It just gets too messy. And so,
Sure.
What?
Sure.
So yeah, you want way too much.
Sure.
So it makes it complicated, and so it's not to enhance initially. It's to do we use this to try to keep us together? Is this an option, right? So that we don't. And okay, it's really undeniable, and people can do their own homework on this because I was surprised when I did my homework. I heard it from people, but it was beginning to be believable. But when I researched it, then I was like, wow, this is true. That there are, I don't want to say a lot because that's a subjective term, but there are quite a few marriages where counseling didn't work, therapy didn't work, prayer didn't work, church didn't work, serving didn't work, nothing worked, and then they got into an open relationship or the lifestyle or swinging or whatever you want to call it, whatever name you want to give that, and their marriage is great. It's not just okay. It actually ended up being better.
Right.
And then what do you do with that information? What do you do with that group of people? What do you do with that group of people?
But we have met people in the ministry that live that kind of lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
We have met them.
Oh, definitely.
And it's very prevalent and in other countries.
It's also becoming more known in I could just speak for America, that open relationships are just, people are doing more of that the millennium, the younger, I'm 20 to 35, they're doing a lot more of the let's live together than let's get married. So that's an open relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be, you can be married and have one too, right? But I mean, like you could be engaged or committed or have the fake wedding. We know people that do that. They have the fake wedding on the beach, they take all the pictures, but they're not really married, but it's their anniversary, whatever. Like, you know, there's a lot of different blends and brands. But that is an option too. So people have to basically look at all of those and say, you know, if I've said yes to this, I'm going to hold it against them. I can't forgive them, whatever, blah, 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 right? Whatever that is, and everything else we added. And it's not. I'm going to tell you why it's not. And I'll just end with this because this is really critical, and this is also something I've seen. And I could be triggered about this, but I have control. That staying together for the children is like an extremely noble thing.
Yeah.
I believe that my parents did it for us. I mean, I kind of know that for a fact. And, you know, that generation's gone. Like, that's a whole different generation. You know, my parents were born in 1915. So that's way far away. Now, when you think about this and you think about like, okay, here we are, you know, we're today. They raised me not loving each other, not showing affection, no domestic violence. I was really fortunate, but you know, openly talking about I'm not having sex with you, I'm not having sex. Me hearing that as a little kid, not really getting a full understanding of it, but getting it then as I'm a teenager and being like, you know, that can affect somebody, right? In the same way that like if you're two ships in the night and you're very short with one another and you don't talk to one another and you're just nagging about your husband in front of your kids or vice versa, you're nagging to your kids about your wife who's their mother and that's all you do. And they grow up in an environment where there's no affection, there's no celebration, there's no appreciation, there's just they get into it, you disciple them.
Yeah.
You expect them to swim in the same waters because what I find is this. I find that the first impulse in a man or a woman, that could be 13, that could be whatever. I don't know when it happens. But whenever they get into a place where they start thinking a certain way, that I fit with that. Right, when it comes to boys and girls. They fit with that. Then it gets later on, it could be 20, it could be 25, whatever, and they're like, I can swim in those waters, I can fit with that. The first one is the easiest one because they know how to survive in that climate. It's the easiest one. I'm not saying it's the one that they're going to pick, but it's the easiest one. It's the one that like, yeah, I'm used to, you know, somebody that's cold. I'm used to having, you know, a cold environment in the house. So I'm used to, you know, treating a woman like this is the right way because I lived in it, or degrading, that's pretty normal. So that I'm not taken aback like that, back by that. I'm not like, oh my goodness, that goes on in your house. No, you grew up in it, right? I'm not saying you're going to choose it, but they're the easiest waters for you to swim in. Mm-hmm. You may hate it. But you will connect with people really quick that swam in those same waters because you know exactly, right, like where they're going. And it's very easy to gel with somebody that has similar dysfunctions than you do. Mm-hmm. So parents think they're doing this noble thing, but are you really poisoning your kids by staying together? Having said everything we said, you said, you know, yes, yes, yes. No, I'm not doing any of that, right? Mm-hmm. But yet you want to be the religious Messiah and say, oh, well, what the Bible says, and I'm going to do it. Don't think that that's really a good idea. And I just want to end with that because whether you have a great marriage or whether you have a terrible marriage, your kids are looking at all of it. They're looking at what you're saying about their mother or their father. They're looking at how you treat them. They're looking at, you know, when you fight, how you fight, what weapons you use when you fight. they're your front seat row. So, they're looking at, how long fights last. Do they make up? Are you quick to forgive? Am I quick to forgive? It's like, what are triggers? They take all that data in, and that's why it's so easy for them to swim in similar waters.
Mm.
You know, and that's something that for me, when I've had to counsel people and I would bring that up, of course, they would think that I was unspiritual as a pastor and I shouldn't be thinking that way. And God can do this and God can do that and God could shield my son and do this with my daughter, but God can't keep your stinking marriage together. Why is he gonna? But he can do that. Like, it's like, no, he's not doing anything here, right? So this is what's happening. And I've always had that idea, and sometimes I would get some blowback. But I think that you did a great job of answering the question in the email, and so we just kind of like wrote 10 emails to this person. So thanks for leading us in, right? I think we did.
Yeah.
And so great, another great show. Thanks for having me in the game.